Meeting to order. Roll call.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, May 3rd at 9 a.m. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon. Both can stand for a moment of silence and a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'd like to take a moment of silence to honor two fallen firefighters from our Erie Fire Department, Jack Green and Mike Callahan. We're grateful for their service, and we send our love and support to their families.
Moment of silence, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you, first of all, grateful and thankful that you allowed us to assemble here today. We ask that by the power of your Spirit, that you enable us to make good decisions on the behalf of the residents of Erie, PA. And we just ask that you remember those who are mourning, remember our firefighters, for we consider those who lost their life in the line of duty heroes. And we just ask that you look in on them and their families, look in on all those who are in need. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes from the City Council meeting of Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, and bills for payment on May 5th, May 12th, 2023. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon. This brings us to public comments.
Good morning. Molly Bechtel, 820 Cranberry. Today I bring a message from the mayor of Jamestown, New York about universal basic income. Jamestown actually has a universal basic income pilot. And I thought folks might be tired of hearing about from me, so let's hear from a fellow mayor of a nearby city. A form of guaranteed income is a powerful tool in empowering people out of poverty. After experiencing the positive effects of the pandemic-related stimulus checks in 2020, I am excited to join Mayors for a Guaranteed Income in advocating for an expanded program. Resources available through such a program create a point of entry to participation for marginalized individuals, stimulate entrepreneurship, and ease families' burdens in fulfilling financial responsibilities. As mayor of one of the lowest income cities in New York State, a guaranteed income program would palpably impact our residents, small business operators, and community at large. And I will use my position to advocate for such a program at the state, local, and federal levels. So consider Mayor Eddie Sundquist advocating today for a UBI pilot in Erie, PA.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Anyone
Okay.
else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? All right.
Okay, we have a hearing this morning, but it won't start until 9:30, so we'll move on with the agenda. Ordinances for final passage. Excuse me. Council file number 16344, official final ordinance 19-2023, appropriating the sum of $21,336.44 of program income generated through the Community Development Block Grant for the following CDBG CD21 projects. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. The council file ordinance bill number 19-2023, and now known as, 16344, and now known as official file ordinance 19-2023, be finally passed by the City Council. Council file number 16345, official file ordinance 2023, appropriating the sum of $1,147.44 of program income generated through the Community Development Block Grant for the following CDBG CD21 projects. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. The council file ordinance bill number 16345, and now known as official file ordinance 20-2023, be finally passed by the City Council. Ordinances for first reading.
I'm sorry, what? There should be 3. I don't know if there's one missing.
I only have one. Thank you very much. Okay. Council file number 16348, appropriating the sum of $3,500,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue to provide for the expenditure thereof for the State Streetscape Project. Funding is from the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, RACP grant.
I'd like to comment.
Sure. Discussion?
No, that was $3.5 million. And so I just want, we're so happy to get this this help from the state, this $3.5 million, but also, you know, we should look at this from a lens of, you know, of priorities. You know, we applied for, obviously, for a grant for $3.5 million to do our streetscapes in the poorest zip code in the United States. And so just wanted to make, you know, that footnote.
Any other comments?
Call for the vote.
The council file ordinance number 16348, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. Council file number 16349, an ordinance amending 1129.09A of the Quality of Life Ticketing Ordinance to amending and restating fines and penalties. Any comments?
I'd like to add a comment. I think it's really important to recognize when we're talking about code enforcement and quality of life ticketing, that this is not meant to target our lower income homeowners. This is meant to hold accountable landlords who aren't taking care of rental properties, for example. This is a way that we can take care of each other's neighbors, love our blocks, all of those things that we've been talking about. And so we need to increase these penalties from $25 to $100 to ensure that our neighborhoods are being taken care of.
Any other comments? Discussion? Call for the vote.
The council file ordinance number 16349, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by the city council. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. Ordinance council file number 16350, amending Article 330, Sections 330.02, 330.03, 330.07, and 330.11 to incorporate short-term rentals into its rental registration and licensing program, to revise the registration period, fees, and insurance requirements for all residential rentals, and to establish fines for failure to register. Any comments?
I'd like to offer some comments. This is 4 different areas that we're going to be addressing as short-term rentals have been updated into the zoning ordinance in order to accommodate that change a little more directly. The first thing is inspections. Because of the turnover that occurs in the short-term rentals, instead of, as of now, as they've been registered, the same as long-term rentals, the inspections have been every other year. Because there's a more frequent turnover, those inspections will be more frequent. They'll be yearly now. That also increases the fees for those inspections because they'll be yearly instead of every other year. That doubles the fees. There has been some discussion as to making those more substantial of fees. At this time, we are not updating it any further because the fees have to be revenue neutral and we have to be able to justify them. At the end of the year, if we find that code enforcement is overburdened and needs more to address this, then we will update the fees in the appropriate manner as they suggest based on need. So this is not a closed ordinance. It is just we need to make it revenue neutral as the state restricts us. But in this case, if needed to be updated, we updated all of those fees back in December just as well for a whole list of different licenses. So this will be updated as needed. The other area of update is insurance. Previously, it was a $50,000 insurance that was needed to be carried. We increased it for long-term rentals as well because it hadn't been addressed in a while to $150,000, and for short-term, it's up to $500,000. If places are working on Airbnb or Vrbo, they're more likely to have $1 million anyways. But it's important to be able to establish that in a way that is a little more comprehensive, especially given the nature of what we hold hotels to or bed and breakfast, for example, to bring Airbnbs, while they're not those things, a little closer to that. The final thing that we updated was fines for not registering. That increased to $1,000. While not in the draft of the ordinance that is available, it does say in the original ordinance that is monthly. So that is explicitly stated that if they fail to register, that it will be a $1,000 fine for failure to register. The importance of that is that many of these short-term rentals are getting a much higher rate than even the rentals. So there's money to be, there's a reason not to register and to just keep going because they may make enough money to justify that. So those were the 4 specific areas that were addressed. And with plenty of discussion and some feedback, yes, that's the updates to it. That's all I gotta say. Any other discussion or offers of comments?
Well, I know that nothing's going to be perfect, but we're hoping that with the ordinance and the steps that we took for the last 6 years, that things will go in the right direction, and the people who are operating Airbnbs can continue to, and their neighbors will be happy with these additional protections that hopefully we can come together and work to find the perfect solution. No one's always going to be 100% happy, but ultimately this has been 6 years that we've been studying, going back and forth, so we're happy to wrap it up. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Call for the vote.
Council file, excuse me, council file number 16350. The council file ordinance number 16350, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson.
Ten more minutes till the hearing. I think we could go on to old business.
Keep going. I'll hold.
Mr. President, I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the agenda that we covered the items. I think we skipped one. And I guess I just want to make sure, did we do 344, 345, 46,
Oh, sorry.
and 47?
I don't think we did bicycle. I think it's
Did we
correct.
not do bicycle?
Are they in the back also?
I don't know. The one-
Is that one of them?
I think 3 and 4, yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Going back to final passage, council file number 16346. The council file ordinance file, excuse me, bill number 16346, and now known as official file ordinance 21-2023. Let me read it. Appropriating the sum of $135,496 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue from expenditure thereof, contribution from federal operations grant, FEMA, for a one-year expense for fire inspector. Any comments? Council file ordinance bill number 16346, and now known as official file ordinance 21-2023, by finally passed by the City Council. Council file number 16347, amending Article 533 bicycle licensing and operation ordinance by repealing sections 533.02, 533.03, and 533.06, 533.07, 533.08, and 533.09 in their entirety. Any comments? The council file ordinance, bill number 16347, and now known as official file ordinance 22-2023, be finally passed by the City Council.
Moving on to old business.
Old business is our public hearing,
Oh, sorry.
so we can move on to new business.
Without Ed here, Motion to move the balance of the agenda.
I'd like to make one separation. For transfers, for CDBG Cares, as an employee of the MLK Center, I will be abstaining from that vote.
And which one was that?
H, transfers, the third one, CDBG Cares.
Okay.
Oh, and then under the ESG Cares, the upper room, I serve on the board there. I shouldn't be in that vote.
Okay. Any other separations? Moving the balance of the agenda, Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. Reports now, or start with the hearing? We can start with the hearing a couple minutes early.
Can we start with the hearing a couple minutes later? No, we can't.
We can't?
No.
It says
solicitors-
approximately.
Oh,
Yeah, we have
Okay.
to.
sorry.
Okay.
All right. All right.
These are both transfers. Voting on the transfers, CDBG Cares, in the amount of $206,200. Ms. Faulkner,
Abstain.
Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson. Transfer passes 5, 1 abstain. Transfer for ESG Cares in the amount of $37,123.01 from miscellaneous groups to St. Patrick's Haven and City Mission. Call for vote, Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Nelson.
Abstain.
Transfer passes. Yeas 5, 1 abstain, Mr. Nelson.
Well, we've got 2 minutes until we do the old business of a public hearing, if anyone needs 2 minutes.
If anyone would like to entertain us.
Or I could
Does
just-
anyone sing?
I could just twist this button a little bit and we'll just say it's.
We could do comments from the board in advance of the thing.
We need more
Gonna
time than
wait.
that. It's now down to 1 minute.
My report is really short.
I could just call on the people that I know do short reports. All right, calling the public hearing to order.
Calling for a public hearing pursuant to a public hearing being held on Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023, at approximately 9:30 a.m. in City Council chambers, relative to the rezoning request from Vendetti Brothers Associates to rezone 3 parcels identified as 1805-107-301-0300, 1805-107-4010-100, and 1805-1740-10200, located south of East 38th Street between McClellan Avenue and Bird Drive, from C2 General Commercial to R1 Low Density Residential, accompanied by the prerequisite filing fee of $500. It is further recommended to rezone parcel 1805-10730-10700, located in the same block from C3 to C2 to correct a previous zoning map error. The C3 district is reserved for the downtown central business district only. The rezoning of the parcel will also be a logical extension of the surrounding adjacent C2 district. The correction rezoning has also been discussed with the property owner, who has agreed it is appropriate. Any comments? Is there anyone here to speak regarding this?
I'm a resident of Bird Drive.
Okay.
Name's Catherine Freishak.
Okay.
And you do for and against, right?
Anyone here to speak will need to have you sworn in for your testimony. If you would stand up and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the best of your ability to do today? Okay, and whenever you come to the podium, please state and spell your name.
Is it fourth person?
Presentation first. Does he have a presentation?
Do you have a presentation to provide? No, does the property owner have a presentation to provide? Yes, please.
Morning, members. My name is Chester Vendetti, general partner of Vendetti Brothers Associates, who own the parcel. We own 40 acres there. We wish to rezone 20 acres from C2, I believe, well, whatever it was, to R1 for the purpose of putting up a subdivision to take advantage of LERTA. That seems to be the driving force at this point in time. That's what we want to do. We'll put up residential homes, have the buyers take advantage of LERTA, and bring people back into the city.
Any questions for Mr. Vendetti?
Could you please share with us around average value of home, about how many homes you're planning, just kind of generally paint the picture of the subdivision?
All this is in the plan, excuse me, all this is in the planning stages now, but we could put in 100-plus homes, give or take, depending on things. Homes would be about 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. We have a range of about 4 or 5 homes. Priced between 210, 220 to 330. And with the advantage of LERTA and some other programs that are out there, I'm trying to compete with rentals around the area to keep the payments anywhere between $1,100 to $1,500, depending on, a whole bunch of things.
Sir, how long have you owned the land that you're currently trying to rezone? This is like
About
the second or third time?
About 45 years.
45 years? Okay, thank you.
Actually, they were all working farms. They were all working farms. A lot of it was working farms. Old man Dedish owned the property there. He's working. He actually had an outhouse back then, and was using it. Yeah. Anyhow.
Any other
He
questions?
gets the painting. I don't know where he got his water. I never talked to him about that, but
Sir, where exactly is it located for the public? Could you tell us exactly where it's located for the public?
Bayfront Highway and McClellan Avenue on the on the northeast quadrant, northeast corner. Yeah, right in back of there used to be a roller rink. Now it's I don't know
A
what
jump gym or something. Yeah.
something. Yeah. Mhm.
What kind of, given that this is obviously a natural area right now, and like you said, used to be farm area, what type of like environmental considerations are you taking for the subdivision?
Well, there's 5 acres of delineated wetlands over there. Delineated about 15 years ago, we had delineated. Interesting thing about that was when we bought the property, we didn't realize there was a creek on the property. And then when I was talking to the neighbors over there, and there were a group of them that were extremely irate. And I said, well, what's the problem? And they said, come here, I'll show you the problem. They had 4 or 5 houses were blocked off with plywood. And the city, when they put the subdivisions up on south of 38th Street, they just took all this water, dumped it onto our property from about 1952 with a big 5-foot tube just coming on our property, and when it would storm, all this water would come down. It actually moved one of the houses off the foundation. And these guys were mad, and they were calling City Hall. Anyhow. So then with PennDOT came in and the city and everything, then they put that retention pond over on the east side of our property, the big retention pond. And there's a tube underneath our property. They tubed it over there, and the PennDOT paid for that, so that was good. But it's not a natural wetlands. It's an artificial one, but DEP doesn't care. It's a wetlands. So we're going to leave that roughly 5 acres. We'll have a buffer zone of, probably 30 feet along the residential areas. I'm going to try to leave as many trees as we can. I call leaf. We're going to try and replace as many trees. I had 3 foresters look at it. The trees there are not desirable from their standpoint. A lot of brush and stuff like that. But we're trying to do what we can to make it, to make it green.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
What, for the subdivision, will the entrance of it be on McClelland, or will this change any traffic patterns?
We tried to get in off of Bird Drive, but we couldn't for a bunch of reasons. Mr. Betson knows all about that. We're coming in off of Rice Avenue right now, and I could come in off of McClelland at some point. Engineering hasn't been done again on this stuff. And we also have, if you notice, if you go on the Bayfront Highway, there's a curb cut, and we could put a light there. That's a very expensive proposition, and probably would need, more traffic to do that. But right now we're coming in.
Hey. Anything else, sir? Anything else from council?
Yeah, and so understanding that, engineering is a cost, but to not be able to physically see the project is an impediment to people who are visual learners like myself. If you have some preliminary engineering somewhere where it shows where the streets will be, where the houses will be, or where they're planned to be.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Sure.
That would be a great help.
Oh, yeah. We're marketing this through Bay City Realtor And it's on the website, realtor.com, under new construction. And we got 3,000 hits, 60 prints. I think, I don't know too much about this, but prints or copies. And we're actually talking about to 5 or 6 people now that are very, very interested. Actually, one's a girl, an attorney also from Erie, but she lived in Denver all her life and she wants to move back here. But it's very as you said, it's very difficult for people to when they go there to see, you know, it's very difficult to figure out. So we have to start with a couple of homes and see how it goes, basically.
Anything else?
I actually did talk to 2 people that were adjacent to our property on Rice Avenue. I did not. Mark Graham from Bay City Realty talked to them, and they said they were okay with it. They were older gentlemen. I don't remember their names.
So, regarding the wetlands there, that are artificial wetlands. So, does it run to the creek now that outlets over there further south of
There is
of
no
Bird
water.
Drive?
There's no water on that property now since they tubed it into the retention pond. There's no water there other than rainwater and things like that.
Okay,
It's,
so
it's not wet when you see it. They determined it by the flora, you know, by the flowers and the.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you put a tube underneath it also. I'm just saying
Excuse me?
it's pumped into the space, and did I hear you say it's pumped out of the space or drains out of the space into a tube?
The wetlands goes from where this curb cut is on the south side of the property, right about in the middle of the property, and it goes all the way north to the city storm sewers over there, which couldn't handle it. It wasn't designed for all this water. So what we did, or what PennDOT did, is they tubed it. The tube doesn't go under our property there. It goes to the east. It goes to the east to the retention pond on the east side of the city. Owns the retention pond over there. It's a real big one. You can't help it see it. But there's no water underneath that property. Or I mean, there's no water tubed underneath that area.
Okay, thank you.
Is there like are the houses gonna run along the Bayfront Highway too, eventually?
No, I don't think so. We're going to save 10 acres for commercial over there.
Okay, so there won't be any houses that'll be visible?
I don't
Okay.
envision that, no.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Mr. Vendetti.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else to offer comment now? Oh, sorry. Do we have anyone else in favor of the project? Sorry, I was a little out of order there. Anyone else in favor of the project? If anyone else has anything to offer in opposition to the project, you may line up and come to the podium.
My name's Jason Connor. I've lived at 3315 Rice Avenue for 19 years now. My biggest concern is the traffic. I am the last house on the dead-end street, which the realtor he spoke of did speak with me. I'm definitely not in favor of traffic coming through there. The street, if you park a car on each side, you can't fit another one through the middle. I don't know how you're going to get 100 homes worth of people through that street. The traffic getting on McClellan right there is an issue already with that industrial park. I mean, you're just asking for a big headache there. I mean, if it was to come in off the Bayfront, I don't think it would be such a big deal. But like I said, my biggest concern is the traffic coming through there. Like I said, if you park a car on each side, you can't fit another one through. How are you going to have through traffic there? That's my only biggest concern. I'm not opposed to it. It's his property. You know what I mean? If it was mine, I would want to develop it too. He's been wanting to do it for a long time, but I would just be very mindful of that. How are you going to get in there? You know, what's the best way to get in there? And the best way is definitely not through Rice. Not at all.
Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry, any,
So Rice Ave is on the, okay, between McClellan and, so those are mostly woodlands behind your house?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm trying to visualize it because I know that there are actual wetlands back there.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a creek that runs
It's,
to the lake on that property somewhere.
yeah, yep. It goes under and it
And
goes
so
through
I
the
don't-
dog park.
So that's what I'm trying to get with, how are we mitigating that, or how are we getting around an actual physical stream that goes to the lake somewhere on that property that
yeah.
doesn't appear to be
Yeah,
addressed?
that's like more towards the middle, like kind of in the middle. I'm like more towards like the west side of it, pretty close to McClellan. A lot of people don't even know there's a little piece of Rice Avenue there.
It's a small stomping ground. So anyways.
Yeah. If you look on Google Earth, you'll see it, and like you said, it's very narrow. I don't know how you'd fit all them cars through there. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up over there. I know that. I ran through them once.
Good morning. My name is John Cox, and I live at 2649 East 34th Street, which is located at the northeast corner of the proposed rezoning area. I have lived in this house for 22 years. My biggest concern when buying this house was that the house was attached and the attached garage were built on the back of the property lot. The attached garage is under 10 feet from the property line. I was reassured that with the property directly behind us being commercial property, there would be at least 50 feet of buffer area between us and any commercial construction if it were to happen in the future. Now with the possible rezoning change to residential, I could be looking at single-family dwellings right up to the back of my house. I like and enjoy everything about my home at this time. It is located in a peaceful area on a dead-end street. We have a field and woods directly behind our home where we often see deer, turkey, and other wildlife. It is nice to have a country setting, but enjoy all the comforts and resources of a city. For 22 years, I have mowed, treated, and maintained the 75 by 160 feet grass area directly behind my property, and other neighbors near us have done the same with the areas behind them. This rezoning change will lessen our privacy, increase traffic, and we could possibly be looking at houses directly out of our kitchen window and also from our enclosed patio. As much as I prefer not to do this at this point in my life, if this rezoning does go through and construction begins behind our property, it might be time to consider moving out of the city of Erie and look for a house elsewhere. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Does anyone have any questions for him? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kathleen Kryshak, Krys, as in Sam, IAK. Thank you for meeting with us today. We appreciate this. Our neighborhood is based on a lot of long-term people living in established houses. My points regarding Mr. Vendetti's plan, we're at the planning stage. Planning stage leads to actually happening. So that's why we're here to protect this today, to stop that from happening. My home is about 1,700 square feet. He's talking about 1,000-foot, no garage residential properties. That sounds like apartments to me. LERTA is all fine and good. I don't feel anyone moving into that type of a residence is going to contribute to our neighborhood, keep up properties, and keep our property values the level they are at now. There's a lot of concerned neighbors. We're talking about a 30-foot buffer. My living room is 20 by 20. That is not a large buffer. You're going to need something more than that. In addition, to begin with, those studies about the wetlands need done. And when he's talking about comparison to rental properties, that tells me again, the population you're looking to bring into that residential area is not vested property homeowners. So those are my concerns: wetlands, wildlife, privacy, and whether this is really an appropriate type of residential development in this area. I noticed in the article in the paper yesterday that we were talking about eventually we will exit onto Bird Drive. All those dead-end streets, 35th, 36th, those have already been talked about. And as the other neighbor said, those are not very wide streets. You can only park 2 cars on them. That is it. If you have a bunch of people coming into a residential area, in and out, that's going to cause a huge traffic problem. Bird Drive is high traffic, McClelland is high traffic, and high speed, unfortunately. Those things all are going to impact that neighborhood severely. And I oppose all of that kind of development. I don't think we need it. I don't think it's going to bring an attorney from Denver to live on the east side of Erie in the middle of a railroad track area, wetlands. So whatever kind of thing he's got planned in here, we don't agree with it. I'm a representative of probably about 10 neighbors in my direct contact. Thank you. I appreciate your efforts on this. My address is 3520 Bird Drive. I've been there for 32 years. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Completely hear you on long-term homeowners and wanting to preserve your neighborhoods. If this were to move forward in some sort of capacity, is there a buffer area? Like, is there a wider buffer that you feel like could be some sort of compromise in this situation?
I think it would have to be at least 100 feet.
Okay.
I would like to see a full parcel of land between the Bird Drive neighbors and this property.
Okay, thank you.
Again, other thing I would like to mention, a little bit of misconception about what's been discussed for this property. The story has changed a couple different times. The comment about speaking with neighbors in earnest, I don't back it up. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to make comments? All right. Well, no. So you missed public hearing, or you missed public comments. Are you married? Did you call me this week? Did I talk to you already? All right. Okay, you missed public comments. There won't be another opportunity, but we'll all be here afterwards, and we'll make sure somebody speaks to you. Okay? Anyone else here for the public hearing? All right.
Can I ask one question? Can you put like a Google Earth map, like one of your screens, so you guys can see it? Like where the property is, so you can kind of see where the traffic.
So we were given a packet in preparation of this with the map of it. So when he asked the question, I pulled open the packet that we were given ahead of time in preparation and handed it to him to discuss the proximity. So we do have that in the packet that we were given in preparation for the hearing.
I was just curious, because, I mean, you could, see it on a map, you would see like why the traffic is not going to make sense like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, take a drive out there, take a look at it.
yeah,
Can I-
It's very narrow.
yeah.
So it's incumbent upon either the presenter or the people who oppose something to bring exhibits, not on the council. We are here to hear information that is presented, and our court reporter is here to annotate it.
Again, I'm not opposed to it. It's his property, I would want to develop it too. Hang on to that home. But the biggest concern is how you get into it. I mean,
Yeah.
off the bayfront makes total sense.
Yeah.
But coming in off the little side streets makes no sense.
All right. Any other comments? All right.
Just to be clear, it's testimony, and so then
Oh,
once all
testimony.
testimony is offered, we would close the public hearing.
Okay. Can I make a motion for that? Sorry. Yeah. All right. And with that, we close the public hearing.
Mr. President, this takes us to committee reports.
All right. Suzanne, you want to start? We'll go from left to right today.
Sure. All right. I want to start with a couple things. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so want to recognize that. Encourage folks to be aware of the various services that we have in the community, as well as the 988 crisis line. I'm going to keep bringing that up probably every meeting because we need it. And folks need to know that that resource is available. If you or someone you love or know is experiencing a mental health crisis, substance use, suicidal thoughts, 988 is available. Going through various departments. Fire had 152 calls for service. Also, thank you to everyone who applied for joining our Great Erie Fire Department. Applications have now closed. And like we mentioned in the beginning, just another nod to the families of Mike Callahan and Jack Green. Both were firefighters who passed in the past few weeks due to related complications from their service in the fire department. They were also honored on Friday, which some of us got to attend, Workers' Memorial Day here. So honoring them, honoring their families. For police department, I want to make a public correction. Last meeting, I spoke about the May 6th open house. That, it turns out, is not open to the public, so please don't show up to that. And so my apologies for that. That is for the family members of the police department from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So misspoke there. There were 1,096 calls for service last week, including 2 shootings, and a reminder that our poverty rate is directly connected to our violence and gun shooting rate. Been helping several residents around some housing issues. May is also Affordable Housing Month, and a reminder that for every 100 people seeking affordable housing in the city of Erie, only 30 of them can secure it. So I'm definitely a proponent of more housing, but as long as that is done equitably. For folks who have concerns around housing or have questions for City Hall, for administration, I really encourage folks to reach out to our Citizen Response Center. The number for that is 814-870-1111. You can call with a complaint, a concern, a compliment, a question, and that's just a great resource that I really want to ensure folks take advantage of. Last 2, for Sewer Authority, I'm very excited. I'm doing my tour there next Wednesday, and also received some interesting information from fellow council members Chuck and Jasmine. They had attended a municipal conference a couple hours away.
Yeah, St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. And they introduced me to a concept of one of our neighbors, Hermitage, PA, just south a little bit. They are absolutely doing something incredible with their sewer authority. They have invested in, with thanks to state and federal grant funds, a sewage digester, which essentially is helping to close the loop on fueling some of their city buildings and their sewer authority. They are leading the nation in that with just from environmental perspective, but also a circular economy, creating biogas, and so that's incredible. And I will definitely bring that up on my tour to the sewer authority as a potential solution moving forward, where we don't need to keep investing in incinerators, but maybe do something progressive, right? And something that really lines us up for our future with protecting our environment in the age of the climate crisis. Lastly, as folks know, if you're driving along the Bayfront, you've been watching the construction by the Water Authority in the city on the Sassafras Street connector there. That is almost completed and will be open shortly. I attended the Water Authority meeting 2 weeks ago, and everything's going well there, and I'll be doing that tour once some of their construction and renovation projects are completed. That's it.
Mr. President, it's a hard act to follow, man.
Yeah, you love going
Even though I'm a great talker, I'm not going to try to compete it. I have no report today, but I would like to say, if you're in contact with youth, just remember all of our youth, from what we consider the best behaved to the worst behaved or whatever. They all have a future. I work with them every day, try to encourage them. We know the summer's coming up. Say something positive to them, that they'll finish the year strong, and stay engaged so that they can keep themselves out of trouble this summer. So just remember our youth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to tag on to Councilman Troop. The summer is, well, not according to the weather, but the summer is here according to the calendar. The Summer Basketball League, I met last night. We've set some dates on startup. We're having competition this year with the basketball leagues, and our numbers right now are down. So we are beginning to concentrate on the individuals that are not on traveling teams, and AAU have tournaments every weekend. So we're going to do a big push at the Bayview Park. The 19th Street Park has, right now we have 189 registered. We can use volunteer coaches. All coaches must present to me child abuse certificates. If you do not have a child abuse certificate, you will not coach. My volunteers and some of the paid staff must have the certificate as well. We will not have anyone in our organization that does not or cannot get a certificate. And it's free. If you go online and put down your volunteer, it doesn't cost you anything. We also received a notification about the bank board that was damaged last year. Thanks to Matt Braziz, former director of the Erie Bayhawks, had made contact with Spalding through the NBA, and the purchase of the bank board has been made. It's on its way to Erie as I speak. And I want to thank Mr. Nick Scott, Sr. of Scott Enterprises, for that purchase. And once it's here, if we can get our Public Works Department to put it up, that's great. If not, Mr. Scott said his team will install it.
as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Keys?
I attended the airport meeting. The airport reportedly is looking for carriers to bring more flights to Erie. We've, lost a couple of flights, and we also welcomed a new board member, Miss Dorothy Smith Frazier, to the airport authority. And I can say that, I've been liaison to the airport for 4 years, and it's the first time, other than the executive director, that, there was somebody who looked like me in the room. And so I think that that's a definite step forward as far as inclusiveness goes. We get a lot of value out of having diverse people at the table. Over the past weekend, I was involved in the Global Youth Service Day. I came in the morning and helped rally the kids, and they had good programs for them all day. Then their keynote speaker, Damar Hamill, came in the afternoon and signed autographs. The mayor presented him a key to the city, and so that it was good that we, that our city participated in this. And just wanted to echo with Mr. Witherspoon and Mr. Troop said that, the kids, we have to invest in the kids so that they know, one, that we care, and two, that they are valuable to us. And so I'm going to do a small commercial for Spoons League. Spoons League is free. I guess that's what we should say. Not, free to the participants. Everything has a cost. And so, especially since we are a theoretically disadvantaged community, go to the free league.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so on April 24th, I had a committee meeting with the EMTA. They go over the regular operations of the month. They have a community event coming up on June 14th, so please mark your calendars. They probably will have a mini performer, probably food truck, so it'll be fun. I know that they have another meeting coming up on May 22nd, so if you as a community member have things you would like to see improve with the EMTA, I definitely recommend that you participate in that public meeting. You can call the phone number 814-459-8922 to get registered. There is going to be a blighted property meeting May 10th at 9 a.m. through Zoom, so if you are a community member who would like to participate and hear what's going on with the blighted property committee, that is your opportunity to get involved in that committee. I have been planning, and hopefully we can get a meeting scheduled with my IT, Innovation, and Communication Committee, just to go over the internet coverage of the city, to see where we were before the pandemic and where we are now. I think that that would give a lot of community members reassurance that the city is doing what we need to make sure the whole city is connected to internet service, whether it's fiber or dial-up. I want to make sure the city does not have any black zones. There are still community members who are in the dark zone. With spring being here and summer being here, the city does not have spring cleanup any longer. We have a large item pickup. So if you are a community member who has large items and you would like to get those out of your home, I recommend that you call 814-870-1550 or go online to register the large items. That way you can put them out on your next trash pickup. That way we can get the city prettier and cleaner. We border the lake, and it is our duty to make sure that we are not filled with litter. We need to do our best to make sure that city of Erie is doing everything we can for the environment. Mother Earth is very important, and if we are not doing our part, no one is going to take care of her. So let's be good humans and make sure that we are not filling her with filth. Thank you, and that is all I have to report.
Thank you. I've got a couple things on my report. First off, I was in Harrisburg with the Chamber of Commerce. They're having a little get-together where there's some people from Erie that are meeting with folks down in Harrisburg for the Deputy Secretary of Diversity, Inclusion, and Small Business Opportunities. They've got people meeting with breakouts with the Department of Community Economic Development, the Tourism and Economic Recreation Department, Transportation, Education, Commerce. Our state senator, Laughlin, was there, as well as Mirsky and Bizzarro last night. Got to meet our new Speaker of the House, and it got to the point where I can't even name how many representatives I met there. Ryan Bizzarro has a lot of friends on the floor, and he brought all of them, and it got to the point where it was starting to get redundant. It was a lot of Harrisburg representation, excited to meet our chamber and our business community. So very excited about that. It was quite the experience, and we were warmly welcomed in Harrisburg. Something that was pretty random this weekend, somebody started up a new Facebook page called Independent Erie Review, and they trained an AI chat GPT to look over our city finances. And then had a bunch of questions about what AI discovered. And so I got to talking to the page, and I think I discovered, as the Federal Reserve meets today and discuss interest rates, there's a new opportunity that we really have not been able to embrace in the last couple years. The city has a lot of money in the bank, and Title 11 is what says what we can invest that general funds in. It's Title 11, and it's anything that's FDIC. There's a couple other things, our pension and our water reserve fund, which I'm not sure the last time a councilperson's talked about the water reserve fund as much as me. But there's certain things we're able to invest and get a remarkable return on, but our general funds, we're not able to invest them outside of FDIC, and with a higher interest rate, we've got over $100 million in the bank that is currently not in treasury bills, particularly short term. If you really like geeky number things, our inverted yield curve is giving the city quite an opportunity. And with short-term treasury bills, I think the city can see as much as $6 million in revenue this year by making some of these pivots. So I met with our finance director on Monday as soon as I got, and I met with our controller about it. I talked to to Mayor Schember about it, and I think we may have an opportunity. And when you look at what our deficit is in the next 2 years, this is the kind of revenue that would literally close the gap for the next 2 years until the interest rates come back down and inflation gets subdued. The city, I think, has quite an opportunity. So that was quite a bit of research this week, and I'm not sure how much of I was talking to real person versus AI, but they put us onto something there. Today we did the first reading of 2 different housing ordinances. Since council became organized this year, we've now had 9 meetings, and I want to point out that we are now 9 meetings in with every single final vote that we've done being unanimous. We've had some disagreements on first readings. We've had some really good discussion in caucus that's led to some tabled votes and such. But we've now made it 9 meetings with every single final vote being unanimous. I just want to really thank my peers here on council for the great work that's been happening this year to build consensus, to drive things forward, to really address some ordinances. I want to address something that Susanna brings up. I was on the sewer authority last year, and I set some goals for myself, and I thought I'd have a couple years to work on them. Before taking office, so you mentioned Hermitage, but before taking office, I had the opportunity to go to Longmont, Colorado. It's the city of the same size as us that's the fastest growing. And they grew a number of different ways. They made a plan for citywide fiber in 1998 and had it implemented within the next decade. So I did a lot of work with them on that, but they also had an anaerobic digester that I got to check out, which is the first I'd ever heard of it. I brought that information back here, and because our natural gas is so cheap here, it wasn't financially feasible to do it as natural gas. Where Hermitage is doing it differently is they're converting that into electricity to sell back to the grid. So I've been chasing that around for a while now. I'm happy to hear that you're picking that up. I've got a guy that I've been working with, and the guy down at Hermitage, we're working on a field trip there. So make sure Basil knows that when you do on your sewer tour. And anything you hear of me doing research on then you say, oh, this is great, then you start running with it yourself. Make sure that I stay in on that. I just because I'm not the liaison there doesn't mean that I don't want to still do that work. It's I think it's a really exciting opportunity. Anyways, that concludes my report. Controller, Teresa, do we have anything?
I just have one. We'll be meeting next week with the aggregate board to see what the quarterly report for the pension funds have done. So other than that, that's all I have. What's that?
Next week when?
Tuesday.
All right. Solicitor? Renee?
Good morning, everyone. I'll try to be quick. A few things. I wanted to make sure that residents know that the portal for applications for the Environmental Advisory Council are open. The deadline to apply is May 22nd. The online application can be found on our website and on social media, and we will repost that later today. Basically, the requirements are they must be City of Erie residents and have a background, education, or expertise in environmental issues, natural resources, and conservation strategies. So we look forward to those applications. They've been coming in steadily. Also, want to remind people that we have 2 Love Your Block cleanups coming up this Saturday and next Saturday. This Saturday, May 6th, in the Lakeside neighborhood from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Folks who want to help should meet at Edison Elementary at 1921 East Lake Road. And then on May 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the East Bayfront neighborhood, folks should meet at East 6th and Parade. And for those who are interested, they could follow our Love Your Block page on Facebook and other social media channels. Third, we have our tire and electronics recycling event this Saturday at the Municipal Garage at 1926 Holland Street. That's free for City of Erie residents from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I also want to remind people that Infinite Erie, the Permanent Supportive Housing Group, has had an RFQ out, request for qualifications, to developers of a 35 to 50 unit site. Those applications are due May 16th. We had a Q&A with potential developers yesterday, and any questions need to be submitted by May 8th to be answered in time for the May 16th deadline. We're also continuing to work with Bloomberg Harvard on our housing strategy. Our GIS administrator, who started about a month ago, has been doing a lot of work with inputting our blighted properties into our GIS system, and it's already been very fruitful for us. Our data analyst starts in a couple of weeks, and we'll be assisting with that project and with many other projects that we have on our to-do list. Sixth, our summer rec guide is at the printer. So in addition to spoons, we have many other free activities for city residents all summer long. Those will be distributed to the community centers and all of Erie's public schools and other schools within the City of Erie, probably between May 10th and 12th, so folks should look for that. And finally, tomorrow is our press conference at Erie Central Fire Station, where we'll be having a Flip the Switch event. The municipal building, it's the only municipal building in the state and the only firehouse that has solar panels with a battery backup. So it's very exciting for us, and we hope to do a lot more of that. And that's all I have for today.
Yeah, I saw you were in Lancaster too. I really, I always appreciate seeing our city engage other cities to find their best practices. That was exciting to see on socials. So, anyways, and With that, city council meeting is adjourned.
City Council adjourns at 10:19. Mr. Nelson, Ms. Faulkner, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon.